Up first is Danger Lights, filmed in 1930. To be honest, this is not a very good movie. The acting is not that great and the storyline is average. However, it has fantastic steam locomotive action on the early 1930s steam railroad. The plot of the movie is that the manager of the railroad is courting a young woman, and one of the railroad engineers on the railroad is also interested in her, which causes friction between the two. The manager ends up getting badly injured, and his only chance of survival is to get to Chicago as fast as possible. The engineer volunteers to take him to Chicago at high speed for treatment. This is the best part of the film, with a 462 Pacific running at high speed to make it to Chicago on time. At one point on the run, the journal box for the trailing truck catches fire, and the engineer has to hang off the side of the cab with an oil can to put oil onto the fire and put it out, and this has to be done on the engine at speed since they don't have time to stop to put the fire out. There are also some great yard scenes with multiple steam locomotives all lined up and fired up. There are also great roundhouse shots and turntable shots. There's a very cool scene of two large engines shoving against each other in a power contest. The Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul and Pacific Railroad, the Milwaukee Road, was the railroad used in the production of this film. As I stated before, this is not the best movie ever made by any means, but if you're a steam fan, this is a great movie to see so many steam locomotives operating in one place. Next is Denver and Rio Grande, filmed in 1952. This is a western that was filmed on site at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, when it was still owned and operated by the DNR-GW. This is a story that is loosely based on a true story about the building of the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad. In the movie, the Civil War general William Jackson Palmer tasks his crews with laying track through a very mountainous area. They are confronted by a rival crew that wants to be able to lay their track before the DNRG crews can. The gang sabotages the railroad a few times and in the end captures a locomotive and train and begins to take control of all the telegraph stations along the line.
Now do you see something? Up.
DNRG officials catch wind of what is happening and send their own train and armed crew to take back the stations forcefully. There are so many awesome shots along the Durango and Silverton branch, including the High Line, Animas River, and the Silverton Depot. The film reaches its climax with an epic head-on crash between two steam locomotives at high speed. The effects crew wanted to make sure that the explosion was good enough, so the two engines were rigged with dynamite to ensure a good explosion. You can actually see them blow up milliseconds before they impact with each other.
There's nobody aboard. Did you think there would be? The game's trying to kill all of us.
The movie uses original DNRG C16-280 steam locomotives for the film, and some of them are still around today, although not running. Obviously, the two in the crash were not salvaged. This is a pretty good Western and a great steam locomotive movie, especially if you like narrow gauge, the Rio Grande, or the Durango and Silverton. This movie, along with several others filmed in the same time period, really helped to save the Durango and Silverton branch from being abandoned. As an honorable mention to this pick, I decided to talk about Ticket to Tomahawk, filmed in 1950. This movie was also filmed on the Durango and Silverton, and there are some great shots of a Rio Grande Southern 460 running on the line.
She is the latest design, sleek and modern, and is equipped with a newly invented air brake. Her kerosene headlight, which is the personal property of her engineer, can throw a gleam 25 feet ahead of her. She is very fast and can attain speeds in excess of 35 miles per hour. Yes, it would be safe to say that on this September day, 1876, she is the last word.
This movie is not as good as Denver and Rio Grande, but it is an entertaining watch. As a side note, Marilyn Monroe plays a can-can girl in this movie before she was famous.
Let her go! Right forward! What do you think you're doing? Slap the
The movie uses ex-Rio Grande Southern 460 number 20. She was recently restored to operation and now runs at the Colorado Railroad Museum. The movie also used a wooden replica of the engine for some scenes. The replica looks amazingly real and is now on display in a park in Durango, Colorado. Next is the Carolina Cannonball from 1955, starring Judy Canova. This is a very funny film about a steam-powered streetcar that runs in rural Nevada called the Carolina Cannonball.
With her whistle blowing, wheels a humming, you will know that she's a coming, click, click, clack. Heading for the junction, woo, woo, woo. The Carolina Cannonball is on the right of way. She's the only engine on on the line, and her design is mighty fine. She really can stand shade. Overcrowded. No, no, not us. We ain't bothered by passengers, two human bugs. Woo, woo, woo. The Carolina Cannonball has really got a hold. And on any other railroad track, you've never seen another like the Carolina Cannonball. Carolina Cannonball.
In the movie, the U.S. military is testing a new atomic-powered guided missile that ends up crashing by the track that the Carolina Cannonball runs on. Russian agents arrive and try to find the missile before the U.S. government so they can steal the technology. The U.S. has also sent out an agent to try to find the missile. At one point, the Cannonball runs away, and she is found with a blown boiler. The engine just happens to have stopped very near the missile, and they end up using the missile to make a new boiler for the Cannonball.
Oh, my. Blew her stack and busted her boiler.
Such a mess. Carolina, what got into you?
Uh-oh, we need a new boiler.
Grandpa, there ain't a new boiler within 1,000 miles of here.
With a new boiler, she's good for 100,000 miles.
Don't ask how they don't get radiation poisoning. It is just a
One of them
movie.
wing tanks that dropped from some airplane.
Hey, Grandpa,
What's that?
we got our new boiler.
Because of the atomic missile's radiation getting mixed up with the steam power, she ends up running away and will not stop until she blows up.
We're on the main line. We beat the streamliner. We've got the stuff. We haven't got a clear track. We're coming to a station.
The U.S. Air Force is called in, and they start to bomb the Cannonball to stop it before it reaches Las Vegas. In the end, the good guys jump off the Cannonball, and she is destroyed by bombs, and they will have to build a new one.
Always be dead brothers coming to us. We gotta find us another boiler, Judy, and build another Carolina around it.
And the Atomic Commission will watch you do it.
Carolina.
This movie has great steam streetcar footage and is very funny. I recommend this movie to anyone who likes steam or comedies. My next pick is Flame Over India, 1960, starring Kenneth More. This movie is such an underrated film. It stars Kenneth More, who plays a British Army officer named Captain Scott, who is stationed in India. There is a revolt going on in the country by Muslim extremists, and the king has been murdered, and his son, the prince, is now in danger and the next target. Captain Scott has to find a locomotive that can take the small train out of the area to safety. However, the only locomotive left is a small 060 yard engine that has been regulated to switching duties for the last several years.
See, Saab, very plenty of this team.
Yes, but is he coming from the right places? That's the point, Gupta.
What right places, Saab? All right. Victoria is old, I confess that. But she has experience, Saab. And when she has experience, nothing can go wrong.
Since this is the only engine left, the decision is made to have her repaired and fitted with a heavy wooden ramming pilot.
Yes, she will go to Kalapur, but not with this.
Early in the morning, the train departs and is pushed down grade to make as little noise as possible. As she picks up speed, they are discovered, and the engine is opened up and plows through the barricade, and they are away.
Let her go, Gupta! On the go! On the go!
The movie is full of action and suspense, not knowing if everyone on the train can be trusted.
Reverse, quick! Back in the tunnel.
Yes, Saab.
Doctor! Maxim!
Along the way, the train encounters a blown section of track, and they must repair it to continue on, but it may be a trap, so utmost caution has to be taken. There are many other great scenes, including a scene with a section of a huge viaduct that has been damaged, and the train must pass
Stand by,
over
Gupta.
it.
This is it.
Hot, Saab, hot! Down speedify! Down speedify! Little bit more. Yes. Very slowly, Saab. It is right. Right.
Don't worry, Gupta, she'll make it. We made it! Let her all go!
At the end of the movie, there is a dramatic large-scale attack against the train that they have to fend off before they can make it to their destination. This is a great movie for any fans of steam locomotives or fans of classic action movies.
Message to Colapur.
Two movies hold the next spot. The Great Locomotive Chase, 1956, starring Fess Parker and Jeffrey Hunter, and The General, 1926, starring Buster Keaton. Both movies are about the same general topic. The Civil War is dragging on, and a plan is put together for James Andrews to lead a raiding party to burn all of the bridges over the Chickamauga River to cut the Confederate supply lines. First, the Great Locomotive Chase. This is a true story about the steam locomotive, the General, that was stolen from the Confederates at Big Shanty in Georgia.
Who did it? Did you see him?
Deserters from the camp, most likely.
They won't go far.
Andrews leads a raiding party and captures the General and heads out to burn bridges, cut telegraph lines, and tear up track. William Fuller, the conductor of the train, gives chase on foot and soon commandeers the Yonah to give chase.
Open her up, Billy! Come on, let's scoop that peanut burner!
At one point, the General is held up for hours waiting for the tracks to clear. Andrews has fake documents and is posing as an official of the Western Atlantic Railroad. They are finally able to depart, but the wait has given Fuller time to commandeer the Texas, an engine of similar size and speed to the General, and he catches up to them.
Yankees, pull out of here! Yankees? What Yankees? Out of train Yankees. They stole the General at Big Shanty. Great day in the moon. When they leave? 10 minutes ago.
Round up all the men and guns you can find and follow us. We're gonna run them down.
Yes, sir. Your telegraph working? No, but there's the operator from Dalton.
Reverse!
By this time, Andrews knows they are being followed, and several attempts are made to stop the Texas. Several amazing scenes are shown in this movie, like having to do fast stops and reverses to avoid collisions with several boxcars and other obstacles, and several flying switches are performed. This was a special project for Walt Disney, as he loved trains and always wanted to tell this story. It is a fantastic movie. The original General and Texas still exist, and they are on display, but they were not used in the production of this movie.
Whoever they might be.
The General was portrayed by the William Mason, an 1856 440, and the Texas was played by the Inyo, an 1875 440. Now on to The General. This is a silent comedy starring Buster Keaton. The movie is not very historically accurate, but it is hilarious. In this version, Keaton is the engineer of the General, and when the General is stolen, his love interest is also taken on board. Like the true story, Keaton gives chase and eventually takes the Texas to chase them. Several near misses and flying switches are performed, just like the true story, though with a comedic element added. There's one part where Keaton has to flying switch a boxcar onto a siding that he doesn't realize is a runaround track, and while he's busy stoking the engine, the boxcar ends up coming back onto the main line and back in front of his engine, and he can't understand how it's got back in front of him. There's also a hilarious scene where he picks up a cannon and he intends to fire the cannon up and over his locomotive and hit the General's train and try to derail it and stop it, and calamity ensues. In the end, Keaton chases them all the way to the Union lines, where he then has to steal the General back with his love interest, and then both depart with the General heading for Confederate lines. The Yankees then give chase with the Texas, followed by a supply train, and lots of calamity and hilarity ensues. There is an awesome scene where Keaton switches the tracks to a ramp siding, where both Union trains run up it at high speed next to the General that is on the main line, and they barely stop before the end. This was all shot in real time. Finally, the Texas has to cross a burning trestle that Keaton set on fire. The Texas ends up trying to cross it, thinking that the bridge is not burned enough, and the engine falls to the river below. This was actually filmed with a real locomotive. A large battle then ensues after the trestle collapse. Sadly, none of the 440s from this movie are still around today. I recommend this movie for anyone who loves steam locomotives or comedies. This is a hilarious movie. My next pick is Breakheart Pass, 1975, starring Charles Bronson. In the movie, the U.S. Army is running a special military train to a fort up in the mountains that is infected with diphtheria. Even as the train gets ready to set off, two officers disappear and they cannot be found. The main star of the film, played by Charles Bronson, is accused of arson and murder and is taken on the train by a sheriff who intends to take him to the fort to see him tried and hanged. This is a Western-style film taking place in the post-Civil War era in the Wild West. As the movie progresses, people keep disappearing or dying by mysterious circumstances, For instance, at one point during the movie, the fireman falls off the locomotive on a high trestle, and it is assumed that he was drunk by the bottle of alcohol that was found in the cab, and that he fell off. There is an amazing but haunting scene where a coupler fails on one of the cars and the train races down the line at high speed before finally crashing into a valley below. The loss of the troops and the troop cars is a blow to everyone on the train, but they decide there is no other choice but to continue on to the fort.
There's a gun lined up on you, gents. Now stop the train.
The movie has several fantastic views of the steam locomotive pulling her train through the mountains and into snow country. The movie is full of action and suspense, especially as the movie reaches its conclusion. The movie concludes with a battle between U.S. soldiers and American Indians on and off the train.
You hurt? Only my dignity.
The film uses 1907 Baldwin 280 number 75. She worked on the Great Western Railway out of Loveland, Colorado. She's now at the Heber Valley Railroad awaiting restoration. If you like mysteries, westerns, or just steam locomotives in general, then this movie is for you. Up next is The Emperor of the North, 1973, starring Lee Marvin and Ernest Borgnine. This is a fantastic movie in general, but it's made even better for any fan of steam locomotives. The movie takes place in the Great Depression of the 1930s, where hobos roamed the country riding the rails illegally. Lee Marvin plays a hobo called A Number 1, and he decides to take on the Shack, played by Ernest Borgnine. He is a bloodthirsty conductor who will not allow anyone to ride on his train for free. The entire movie is about A Number 1 and another hobo called Old Cigarette trying to ride the train all the way to Portland behind steam engine number 19 and evade the Shack.
Hurry up! Let's get this goddamn thing out of here!
The movie has some great comedy and very tense scenes as well. At one point, Shack wants to highball out of the yard and avoid giving A Number 1 a chance to jump on the train. However, the hobos have another plan and end up getting number 19 on the wrong track. The scene ends with a dramatic race to the junction with two steam locomotives heading towards each other at high speed, and the number 19's crew trying to get in the siding in time.
Take her out! Up track.
What if we don't make it?
We got no choice. 2 miles back, 1 mile up. Move it. All right, move it. Come on, come on. She's stalling. She's sand. Sand, give her sand. God damn you, move, you son of a bitch. Move. Sand. Sand. Faster.
The movie climaxes with a brutal fight scene between A Number 1 and the Shack. This is a terrific movie, made even better by the fantastic steam locomotive footage all throughout it. The film uses 2 steam locomotives in the movie, OP&E number 19, a 1915 Baldwin 282, and OP&E number 5, a 1922 Alco 280, and they are both still around today. Number 19 is currently being rebuilt at the Age of Steam Roundhouse in Sugar Creek, Ohio. Another interesting fact is the day I was recording this audio, the movie was celebrating its 50-year anniversary since its shooting. And my number 1 favorite steam locomotive related movie is The Train, filmed in 1964 and starring Burt Lancaster. This is a terrific movie in general, but is even better for the steam locomotive fans and fans of World War II, 2 of my favorite things. The movie takes place in 1944 in Germany and occupied France. With the war coming to an end and the Nazis on the run, a German officer steals all of the art from a Paris museum. All of the art is loaded onto a train, and the majority of the movie concentrates around the Germans trying to get the art out of France and into Germany. Burt Lancaster's character is a French resistance leader, and he and many other resistance fighters spend most of the movie trying to stop the train from reaching Germany until the Allies can arrive.
We are home, Talbot. We are in Germany.
Spitfire.
There are amazing practical effects all throughout the movie, like a Spitfire fighter plane attacking the locomotive. Probably the most amazing practical effect scene in the entire movie is the bombing of a railway yard. This railway yard was scheduled to be demolished by the railway itself already, and so it worked out great for the filming of the movie. The yard was apparently rigged with explosives, and they were detonated at certain times, and it was made to look like the yard was being bombed. There is also a spectacular crash involving 3 steam locomotives. This was all filmed in real time with multiple camera angles to make sure the crash was captured, since it could not be recreated. There's also a great scene where Burt Lancaster's character is tasked with repairing the locomotive after it sustains damage. This scene shows some amazing footage of steam locomotive repair facilities still in use at the time, and the scene shows several different angles of different types of steam locomotive repair work going on large scale at the very end of the steam era.
Stuff. This is a hell of a mess you have got here, Colonel. We're doing the best we can. I asked for 2 points.
miles an hour, no more.
In the end, stopping the train is left to Burt Lancaster's character, who is the only fighter left that's still alive that's been trying to stop the train.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
This is my all-time favorite steam locomotive movie, as it combines my favorite things: steam locomotives, World War II, and just action movies in general. I want to thank everyone for watching my reviews here. I know there are other great steam locomotive movies, but this was just my pick of my favorite steam engine movies that I have seen.